A massive hurricane has completely flooded the entire town, and riding those violent floodwaters, terrifying alligators have invaded the city. An old man is trapped in the basement of his house due to the storm. But even there, the giant gators track him down and attack. Because of a severe leg injury, he can barely move. Shortly after, his daughter shows up to rescue him. But will this young girl be able to save her dad from the jaws of these bloodthirsty beasts? Let me tell you an absolutely insane story today. At the start of the story, we meet a young girl named Haley. She's an incredibly talented professional swimmer at Florida University. She was giving it her all in a competition at the pool, but despite her absolute best efforts, she loses the race, leaving her pretty bummed out. After practice, when she heads to the locker room and checks her phone, she sees a bunch of missed calls.
All the calls were from her older sister, Beth. Haley calls her back, and Beth sounds super panicked, saying they can't track down their dad, Dave, and he isn't picking up his phone. Meanwhile, the news on TV is blasting warnings that a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane is about to slam into Florida. The cops are ordering everyone to evacuate the city and head to safe shelters. The highways are completely jammed with cars of people trying to escape, but Haley refuses to leave her dad alone in this nightmare. So, dodging the police barricades and risking her own life, she heads straight into the eye of the storm in Florida to find him.
She drives straight to her dad's current apartment, but when she gets there, he is nowhere to be found. The whole flat is empty, except for their pet dog, Sugar. Haley suddenly remembers that her dad is a contractor and might have gone to work on their old abandoned family home and gotten stuck there. Without wasting another second, she grabs the dog and heads toward the old house. The roads are a mess, so Haley drives on the wrong side of the road, heading right into the center of the hurricane. When she arrives, the entire neighborhood is a ghost town. Trees are snapped in half from the fierce winds, and the rain is absolutely relentless. Haley walks into the house, screaming her dad's name, but gets zero response. The house is dead silent and pitch black. Suddenly, Haley hears the faint sound of an old radio coming from beneath the floorboards, the dark, creepy crawl space. She instantly knows her dad has to be down there. She pops open a small wooden floor hatch and climbs down into the pitch-black, damp basement. The vibe down there is completely suffocating. It's full of mud, dirt, massive water pipes, and support pillars. Haley turns on her phone's flashlight and slowly creeps forward. A few moments later, she spots her dad's toolbox and a radio lying in the mud. Right next to it, she sees fresh, terrifying bloodstains. Following the blood trail, her heart drops into her stomach. She finds her dad lying unconscious in the muddy water, brutally injured. Haley rushes over and desperately tries to wake him up. She sees horrific, deep gashes on his shoulder and leg, looking exactly like a wild beast just chewed him up.
When her dad finally regains consciousness, he looks terrified and weakly whispers, "Why are you here? Run! Get out of here!" Haley realizes this place is a death trap. She tears her own clothes to bandage his wounds. Then she starts dragging him to get the hell out of that dark hole. But right at that moment, a heavy, terrifying dragging sound echoes from the pitch-black darkness. Haley flashes her light and sees a massive, monster-sized alligator blocking their path. Flashing its razor-sharp teeth, the gator charges straight at Haley. Seeing the beast charge, Haley doesn't freeze. She immediately drags her unconscious dad behind a thick iron pipe. Just as she does, the gator snaps its massive jaws right onto the pipes. Those deadly teeth miss Haley's face by inches. The gap between the pipes is just too tight for the gator's massive body to squeeze through. Frustrated, the gator violently thrashes its huge tail, smashing Haley's phone out of her hand and sending it flying into the dark abyss. After trying for a bit, the gator slowly retreats back into the darkness. Once things quiet down, Haley tries to wake her dad again. She squeezes her wet shirt to drop some water onto his face. When he fully wakes, he tells her he came down to fix a leak, and the beast probably snuck in through the garage drain. Haley notices her dad's right leg is brutally broken, with the bone completely sticking out. She knows they need to call 911 immediately, but her phone was knocked way back into the mud during the first attack. Risking it all, Haley decides to go get the phone. Leaving her dad safe behind the pipes, she slowly creeps into the pitch-black space. The only sounds are the pouring rain and the damp echoes, and she has no idea where the gator is hiding. Haley carefully grabs her phone from the mud. The signal is super weak, so she holds it up high, trying to dial 911.
Just as the operator answers, the gator explodes out of the muddy water right behind her.
The beast climbs over the drain pipe and lunges at her. Haley screams and tries to back up, but the gator sinks its razor-sharp teeth straight into her leg. It drags her into the dark, violently thrashing her around. Haley screams in pure agony. Fighting for her life, she grabs onto a support pillar to anchor herself. At the same time, she starts kicking the gator violently in the face with her free leg. Finally, she lands a massive kick right in its eye, causing the beast to let her go in pain.
Haley quickly crawls away and drags an old metal cage to block the gator's path. The gator crashes into the cage and its head gets stuck inside. Taking advantage of this, Haley scrambles to a safer spot. Her leg is bleeding heavily. Trembling in pain, she uses a piece of plastic to tie a makeshift tourniquet around the wound. Haley realizes the water level is rising fast. She tries to climb up near the basement wall. She finds another floor hatch. As she gets close, she sees a cluster of spiders hanging from the ceiling. Suddenly, a bunch of them fall right onto her head. Haley freaks out, but silently brushes them off without making a sound. Then, she pushes the hatch with all her might to open it, but it's locked from the outside and she can't budge it. Their main escape route is completely dead.
The storm outside is going absolutely crazy, and the floodwater inside the basement is rising rapidly. If they don't find a way out, they will drown in the dark very soon. The floodwaters keep surging. Things are going totally out of control. Haley's dad knows they're running out of time. With his broken leg and mangled arm, he agonizingly crawls over to an old sump pump nearby. He hooks up the battery and turns it on, which slightly slows down the rising water, buying them a few precious minutes of life. Meanwhile, Haley is blindly navigating the dark to get back to her dad. Suddenly, her lost phone starts ringing in the dark. Hearing the noise, the gator charges at her again. To survive, Haley desperately crawls under a large metal air duct, but her shoe gets stuck. She leaves the shoe behind and barely squeezes out the other side. Right then, the gator smashes its massive jaws right onto the ringing phone, completely destroying it. With the phone gone, their last hope of calling the cops is officially dead. The gator then starts violently headbutting the metal duct, almost bringing the whole structure down. Haley manages to slip away and hides in a small concrete pit using an iron rod to keep the beast at bay.
Right at that terrifying moment, a little rabbit hops out of the darkness. In a blink of an eye, the monster gator swallows the rabbit whole. Haley notices a few helpless baby rabbits left behind in the corner of the pit. With incredible empathy, she wraps the tiny babies in her shirt and gently pushes them through the gap of the locked floor hatch to safety. A bit later, Haley looks through a ventilator gap and sees a security guard named Bobby arrive in a patrol vehicle. Haley screams her lungs out and flashes her flashlight to get his attention, but the roaring storm drowns out her voice. As a last resort, she uses her car keys to trigger her car alarm. Hearing the alarm, Bobby walks straight into the abandoned house. Hearing Bobby inside, Haley starts banging her iron rod against the pipes. Bobby hears the noise, walks over to the open garage hatch and looks down. Haley and her dad scream from the dark, "There are gators down here, stay back!" But before Bobby can even process what's happening, disaster strikes.
Like a lightning bolt, the giant gator launches out of the water, clamps its jaws onto Bobby's arm, and violently yanks him down into the pitch-black basement. Right in front of Haley's eyes, the gator brutally thrashes Bobby around and snaps his neck. Haley is frozen in absolute terror. Crying and traumatized, she tries to wade through the muddy water back to her dad. She gets disoriented and stumbles right in front of the gator, but at the very last second, her dad yanks her behind the pipes. Haley completely breaks down in tears, but her dad comforts her, telling her she can't give up and needs to fight like a warrior, just like her mom did. The basement water is rising incredibly fast now. Haley's dad realizes if they wait any longer, they will completely drown. He decides to act as bait to distract the gator so Haley can use the opportunity to swim out through the open garage hatch. He ties his flashlight to a long wire and starts banging a piece of brick against the iron pipes. Hearing the noise, the massive male gator charges at him from the dark. Just as the beast gets inches away, the dad smartly kicks away a metal support rod near his foot. Instantly, a massive heavy pipe crashes down from above, pinning the gator tightly in the mud. He screams at Haley to run. Following his command, Haley swims submerged under the living room floor toward the garage exit. But halfway there, her hand touches something soft in the mud. She looks closely and sees a massive pile of large eggs hidden in the mud and leaves. Haley instantly realizes this is a gator's nest, and that gator was essentially just hiding there to guard these eggs.
Suddenly, out of nowhere, another monstrous gator appears right in front of her.
It was the female gator, here to protect her babies. The female beast lunges at Haley and savagely bites down on her already injured leg. It drags her around, tossing her like a rag doll. Haley fights back with everything she has. She grabs onto a copper pipe hanging above her, which happens to be the water heater line. Using her entire body weight, she violently snaps the pipe. Instantly, gallons of boiling hot water spray directly onto the female gator. Screaming in pain, the beast lets go of Haley and retreats into the dark. Meanwhile, the trapped male gator uses its insane brute force to free itself from under the heavy pipe. As Haley desperately tries to escape, she suddenly trips over a dead body in the mud. It's the mangled corpse of the unfortunate security guard, Bobby. Haley searches his belt and manages to pull his gun out of the mud. Right at that exact moment, the female gator charges at her from the dark again. Haley points the gun straight at it and pulls the trigger. The blinding muzzle flash and deafening gunshot shake the basement, causing the gator to back off.
The water is now up to Haley's neck. She quickly crawls over to a back ventilator window of the basement. The cover is tightly bolted shut. With no other option, Haley points the gun and fires several rounds directly into the cover. Then, using her good leg, she violently kicks the cover off and barely squeezes through the small window, finally escaping into the backyard.
Smashing through the ventilator cover, Haley somehow makes it out into the backyard. Covered in mud and gasping for air, she yells through the vent, letting her dad know she finally made it outside. But before she can even finish her sentence, the massive female gator shoves its huge head right through the vent and lunges straight at her. Terrified, Haley heavily limps toward the backyard swimming pool, putting all her weight on her good leg. The gator completely squeezes out of the vent and starts hunting her down. Outside, the hurricane is raging harder than ever. The torrential rain is blowing sideways with insane hurricane-force winds. The wind violently blows a metal patio chair right into the pool. Slipping on the muddy yard, Haley completely loses her footing and plunges straight into the deep end of the pool. During the fall, the security guard's gun slips out of her hand and sinks straight to the bottom. Haley surfaces and frantically swims to the edge to pull herself out, but her wet hands keep slipping. Right at that exact moment, the female gator slips into the pool and torpedoes straight toward her. Just as the beast is about to pounce, Haley grabs the floating metal chair, uses it as a makeshift shield, and dives quickly underwater. Beneath the surface, it's pitch black and totally murky. Through the sudden flashes of lightning, Haley can see the massive gator circling right above her head. She desperately tries to swim the other way to escape, but out of nowhere, the gator violently whips her with its massive tail and then chomps down hard on her right arm from behind. It immediately drags Haley down to the very bottom of the pool.
Running completely out of breath, Haley violently wrestles the beast underwater. The gator absolutely refuses to let go. Haley uses her left hand to blindly search the pitch-black bottom of the pool, and by an absolute miracle, she finds the dropped gun. Without missing a beat, she jams the barrel directly against the gator's head and pulls the trigger. A muffled blast goes off underwater, instantly killing the female beast. The pool water immediately turns deep red with blood. Breaking free from the gator's death grip, Haley gasps for air and stumbles out of the pool. Shivering in the massive storm, she makes her way to the glass sliding door at the back of the living room, but it's locked tight from the inside. Haley picks up a metal patio chair from the yard, totally shatters the glass door, and steps inside the house. On the floor, she spots a heavy iron crowbar. Standing inside the house, she can hear her dad still tapping on the pipes from underneath. Haley pinpoints exactly where her dad is trapped. Using the crowbar, she aggressively rips up the wooden floorboards of the living room, one by one. Digging a hole through the floor, she looks down and sees her dad drowning in neck-deep water. Haley jumps down into the flooded basement and reaches out to help him. With incredible effort, she drags her dad out of the sinking basement and hauls him up into the living room.
They both collapse on the floor, breathing a huge sigh of relief. They actually think the nightmare is finally over. But right at that very second, with a deafening crash, the giant male gator violently bursts out through the broken floorboards and onto the main floor. With the massive male gator now inside the living room, things go from bad to an absolute nightmare. The beast prepares to charge straight at them, but right at that exact moment, a deafening crash echoes from outside.
The brutal hurricane has completely destroyed the town's massive levee. In a split second, a terrifying tsunami-like wave smashes through the house windows and crashes right into the living room. The immense force of the floodwaters sends all the furniture flying everywhere. This violent wave completely separates Haley, her dad, and their dog Sugar. Swallowing water, Haley looks over and sees her dad desperately clinging to the staircase railing for his life. But the gator that broke into the living room lunges straight at him. It clamps its razor-sharp teeth onto his right arm and initiates a brutal underwater death roll. In a matter of seconds, his right arm is completely ripped clean off his body.
Witnessing this absolute horror, Haley screams like a maniac. To save her dad, she desperately tries to draw the gator's attention toward herself. The beast drops her dad and charges right at Haley. She quickly swims into a nearby bathroom with the gator right on her tail. In a genius move, Haley slips behind the thick glass shower door and slams it shut. As the gator violently tries to smash through the glass to get her, Haley sneaks out through the other side. She grabs her heavily bleeding, one-armed dad and the dog and somehow forces her way toward the second floor. By now, the entire first floor is completely swallowed by the floodwaters. But even on the second floor, they realize they aren't safe because the water is rushing up the stairs at insane speeds. From below, they can hear the terrifying sound of even more gators swimming up the stairs right toward them. They are completely out of time. Their only chance of survival is to break through the second floor ceiling and get to the very top of the roof.
Haley looks around and spots the small attic access door in the ceiling. She uses a heavy object to smash the attic door open. By this point, the gators have completely reached the second floor via the stairs. Without wasting a single millisecond, Haley struggles to shove the dog and her brutally injured dad up into the attic first. Just as a massive gator opens its jaws and lunges at her, Haley yanks herself up and violently slams the door shut behind her. Crawling through the attic, they finally make it out onto the main roof of the house. Outside, the terrifying hurricane is still unleashing pure hell. The entire surrounding area has basically turned into a massive ocean, totally infested with man-eating gators swimming just below them. Her dad is bleeding out heavily and rapidly losing consciousness. Haley knows that if they stay like this for much longer, her dad is going to die.
Suddenly, cutting through the roaring sound of the rain, Haley hears the glorious sound of a rescue helicopter. A massive wave of hope hits her. She quickly grabs an emergency road flare from the roof, lights it up, and frantically waves it like crazy at the chopper. Spotting the bright red light, the rescue team pinpoints their exact location and hovers right over the house. They drop a rescue basket down with a rope. Using the absolute last ounce of her strength, Haley loads her dying dad and the dog into the basket first. After that, she finally climbs into the basket herself. As the helicopter slowly pulls them up into the sky, Haley looks down and watches her old family home completely sink into the dark floodwaters. Finally, after a brutal, bloody fight for their lives, Haley and her dad cheat death and survive. And that is exactly how the terrifying, suspense-packed survival thriller movie Crawl comes to an end.